Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmitty, Swanee and Clarky visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, how are we? It's been a while.
It has. Long time no see.
It's been a very long time.
How long has it been? 6 weeks?
It's about 6 weeks. Yeah, because with the last recording we did was the Southwest story where you lot were upstairs, and I had what we were calling our voice talent down here in the office, and we were all hungover from the hens night the night before and so dusty. Yeah.
I'd be very interested to see how that translated, because
yes,
I have to say I can't remember much of it except being very tired.
Yeah,
and
I think I had to give you
courage to get back on it.
Yeah, I had to give you hydrolytes.
You did
before we started, because we were all a bit dehydrated. And but then we had the wedding, and that was good. And then I had a couple more weeks of my guests, and then I went on my honeymoon, which I got back from last weekend, and promptly fell ill with something that feels like COVID, but according to all of the plethora of rat tests I've taken, is not COVID. But I'm on the mend and so I'll just give you my little heads up. I did some gardening. So, Swanee, the deck now has some petunias and pansies and some pots, yes.
Lovely.
And I planted 6 rose bushes at the front of the house too. So I've been busy doing homemaking today.
You did that today, or you did that this week?
Today. Oh, no, I was too sick to do it. And what about you, Swanee? Any news?
Just trying to think. It's been such a long time since I've seen and spoken to you guys, but so much and so little has happened at the same time. I was very busy shortly thereafter because we went to another wedding in Sydney, and we were just high on love. It's really lovely to go to some weddings. Having not been to a single wedding in, I think, 10 years, we went to 3 and 4 weeks.
Wow.
And it was really nice. And your wedding was absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for having us. It was such a fun time, but I don't know, something very genuine and lovely, and I was just very touched to be part of it, and I came back feeling all buoyant. So I'm pleased that you got married.
Oh, look, I loved it, but I had the worst bout of post-show blues afterwards.
I would expect that.
Oh, after
when
you
did
left,
when did it come in?
Well,
after everyone left?
When you left, and then on the Monday when I took Nick and Helen, I think it was Monday or Tuesday when I took Nick and Helen to the airport. That was what I was like, I was so miserable.
I thought that you might have been able to stave that off a little bit longer, just because you had. It was just a season that I cannot believe how good your time is. I'm so pleased that you got ill this week. Because you have basically had, I don't know if it was 5 intense weeks.
It was,
of guests, wedding, guests, honeymoon. I mean, I know the honeymoon you don't think is intense, but you don't want to be sick on your honeymoon, right?
No.
And I just kept thinking, I don't know how that woman can keep up with hosting and drinking and hosting.
I went back to work for a week in the middle of it too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, well. Keeps you honest, love.
Oh, it does. Had to earn the money so I could spend it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well done you. What about you, boys?
Yes, we did have a wonderful time at the wedding too.
It was a hoot.
It was very, very good. Like Schmitty, we've been sick for about a week, and today, yesterday we spent it on the couch the whole day.
Oh.
Today was the first day we've started to feel a bit more normal, and so we got stuck into some domestic chores as well. So I made quince jelly, and then I've got some quince paste finishing off at the moment.
Your domestic duties sound much more glamorous than mine.
Really?
Yeah, mine's like trying to change the sheets of stinky teenage boys and just, that's domestic duties, please.
Well, you know what, we've done 3 loads of washing.
You sound like you're Maddie Beer.
Stuart's vacuumed the house, and so I mean there is I'm telling you the glamorous ones, not the boring ones. And we did a bit of gardening as well, so that was nice. Yeah, and so here we are, trying not to cough during a podcast.
Appreciate it, me too. And I've ordered an apricot tree and a fruiting cherry. I'm going to put those in when they come in.
Nice.
Anyway, Right. Well, who are we? I'm Schmitty.
I think I'm still Swanee. It's been a while.
And I'm Clarky, and together we are
Trial
by Wine.
And what are we drinking?
Well, Swanee, do you want to go?
I'm drinking Coke.
The usual.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
usual.
Nice.
Nothing exciting.
Nice.
What about you guys? Surely something wonderful.
We're having a cold Sangiovese, which is one of the ones that we make. So it's called Big Red Duck, and it's very delicious.
Now, the big question's going to be, what's Schmitty going to be drinking? Are you still on the mothers, or are you now like a footloose and fancy-free back on all the exciting stuff? Chutney.
It's funny you should say that because obviously, as you say, it was a 6-week thing and I'd starved before the wedding to trying to get into that dress. When we actually got to the day of the wedding, I think I had gained about 1.5 kilos because I'd had 2 weeks of Nick and Helen being over and, drinking. Because I'd been not completely, but mostly on the wagon. Of course, I thought I'm definitely going to gain on the honeymoon, and I did. I put a couple of kilos on. So I was 4 kilos heavier than my lightest pre-wedding weight.
Yep.
This cold or whatever it is, I've lost 3 kilos in a week.
Awesome.
Really? Same.
I don't know why, but I've just dropped weight. And Tony said to me this morning, no, I've been eating, but
wow.
He just said,
what a gift.
Not tons. Maybe that's the difference because when I was on the cruise, it was like, every meal's a 3-course meal.
Yeah.
It's a miracle I only put on 2 kilos, frankly. So I'm going back to one of my favourites being a mango chutney.
Chutney.
Welcome back.
Cruiser. Cheers.
It's like podcasting with an old friend.
It is, and it's less dangerous than pirate juice, as we know. All right, so who's got a story for us today?
Well, I reckon I have.
Woo-hoo.
Yay! So I thought I'd start this one off by telling you how I found it, because people often say to me, where do you find your stories?
Me.
And yeah. And
but just before you go on, I do want to say I found it so entertaining, the two of you responding to fans. So for our listeners, at the wedding, we had a few people who listened to our podcast and they hadn't met Swanee and Clarky. And so I had people come up to me at various points saying, which one's Swanee, which one's Clarky? So I was like, oh, come on, I'll introduce you. So I take them over, and this pair of uncomfortable, newly found celebrity, the two of you are like, oh my God, this is so awkward.
It was really weird, wasn't it? Like,
very.
People I hadn't met coming up to me
and they
telling
loved
me
you, how much they love you. And you're like, what?
Yeah. Do you know who my favourite one was?
I think it might have been Rex's husband, but yeah, go on.
No, your mum.
Oh, gosh. I forgot.
I was ready to give it all up. She scared me so much.
I recorded it. For everyone who wasn't there, Schmitty's mum came up to both Swanee and I independently and absolutely attacked us for that doing a shit podcast. It's all rubbish. And she just went on and on. So I got my phone out and recorded it.
She's never been a fan. That's true.
No, that's true.
And it was
she also doesn't listen to it. So it's not from a position of any, fact. She just decided it's a dumb thing. She doesn't like social media. She doesn't like anything. Podcasts are evil. It's all evil as far as she's concerned. But what did the recording say?
I haven't been able to listen to the whole thing because she didn't actually approach me. I approached her and I walked over to introduce myself. Hello, Mrs. Schmidt. I'm not sure if you recall meeting me before, but I met you many years ago. Anyway, she looked at me and then she just didn't say anything. And then she goes, oh, you're involved in that awful podcast. And I didn't know what to say. I was like, I don't normally offend people. So I just stood there and I went, okay. And I can't remember who. Someone was sitting next to her. I can't remember who it was, somebody I knew. And I just went, all right then. And I just walked off. I didn't know what else to say. I was so she just stopped me in my tracks. And then you
were growing up and living with that.
Oh, gee, because it scared me. And so then I couldn't hear what you recorded throughout the wedding because it was obviously too loud. And then when I finally prepared myself, braced myself to listen to it, I started to listen to it. I thought, oh my God, I can't listen to it. I can't handle the criticism. So I've still never really listened to it. It's too personal.
So funny.
I ended up trying to encourage her to come on and do an episode with us so she could tell everyone how shit it was. Yeah.
I'd forgotten about Mum having a crack at the two of you. I apologise for that.
It was hilarious.
Oh, it was gold. I'm used to her, so it didn't bother me.
True. You thought it was the funniest thing. Every time she walked past and you were in her vicinity, you're like, "So Bernadette, you're coming on the podcast, yeah?" Just winding her up. It was very funny.
Oh, Paul, come here.
It was good fun. Anyway, so that's not how the podcast story came to be. But you'd recall a while back I did a story about Bronwyn Richardson, who was from Corowa and murdered in Albury.
Yes, I do. Yes,
and
very sad.
As you research those things, you start off with a certain search term, and then you go through and look at other ones just to see if you can get a different angle on the same story and all that kind of thing. So anyway, at some point, I must have been Googling Albury murder or something like that, which, of course, when you Google that, pops up with far more about a bloke named Andy Albury than it does about Bronwyn Richardson. That's how I found this story. And the bit that got me, you might recall episode 4, we did Australia's female Hannibal Lecter.
Good old Katie Knight. Yeah, Katie Knight.
Andy Albury is Australia's Hannibal Lecter.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you why. My sources are the NT News, classic for good story input.
Right.
The Age, the Daily Mail, and news.com. Carla, there will be a point in this story where I'm going to ask you to remove your headphones.
Okay.
Oh,
okay. I'm slowly learning at episode whatever this is.
81.
Yeah, there you go.
Did I have a threshold?
Yeah. Well, and also that there's something I can do to help you with that.
Well, she says she has a threshold, but when you're not telling the story, she's madly Googling it and reading all about it herself. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
True fact. Rightio. So Andy Albury was born on the 20th of November in 1961. He never knew his father and lived with his mother and older brother. He described his first stepfather as a violent man who would give him harsh beatings. He spent most of his childhood on the Mornington Peninsula, about 70 kilometres southeast of Melbourne, for those who don't know, and had limited schooling. At some point during his childhood, Andy came to the Territory and attended Nightcliff Primary School, where he was deemed uncontrollable. He was made a ward of the state and placed in Victoria's Tarana Youth Detention Centre.
Oh, my mum, did she teach there? I think she taught there.
Yeah, right.
Auntie Beth definitely taught there. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, yeah.
What did she teach?
Read and writing?
Read and writing, pretty much.
Read and writing arithmetic?
Yeah.
Better ways to deal with your anger and frustration?
No. But, like in all corrections facilities, there's education. Yeah.
Socially acceptable ways to deal with people you don't like?
No, that might have been part of the curriculum, but I'm pretty sure Auntie Beth was really just teaching literacy, numeracy, standard
just the basics.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's disappointing.
How to make a shiv. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I was thinking it would be more about how not to do it. Yeah. So if you meet someone you don't like, rather than murdering them, you can just turn around and walk away.
Yeah, you can walk away.
Yeah. There are other options. He was made a ward of the state and placed in Victoria's Tarana Youth Detention Centre, which has been labelled dangerous and unhealthy at age 15. And I think we've heard some stories about Tarana. So at 17, he started working on a cattle station in Western Australia. If nothing else, he gets around, right?
I was going to say he moved around a lot, yeah.
Whew, jeepers. So the work ended after 6 months and Albury's life became quite transient, with short-term jobs on stations in roadhouses in Kununurra and Coober Pedy in South Australia. He was a donkey shooter before joining the army in early 1981, aged 19. Is a donkey shooter a thing?
I just assume they had a lot of feral donkeys.
Donkeys, and they were.
I didn't know if it was a name for something else. A donkey shooter.
It
sounds like it's not
a
really
metaphor.
Yeah, that's the word after. Yeah.
What? How many donkeys do you have to shoot to be known as a donkey shooter?
More than one?
Is it?
I don't know. Yeah, I would say so, because just one could just be like an accident.
But it'd still be a donkey shooter if you did one.
No.
Think about it, singular or plural.
That's a career. One's like a fluke. If you do two, now you're a donkey shooter.
So you're saying if you shoot one donkey, it could just be a shooter and the donkey might be an accidental victim.
That's right. Yeah, you're going for a kangaroo and you got a donkey instead.
Also, you're probably still a donkey shooter, just not a deliberate one.
Okay. Right.
An accidental donkey shooter. Who knows? Anyway.
Semantics.
Albury described his year in the military as running around with an M60 machine gun. They had me on Largactyl too. They reckon I was a bit of a nutter, he said.
Do they?
Do you know what Largactyl is used for?
No, I don't know what it is.
Right.
Donkey tranquilizer.
Yeah, donkey tranquilizer. No.
Is it a medication?
Yeah, for severe depression and behavioural issues.
Oh, right.
Maybe they shouldn't have given him an M60 as well.
I know, right? We'll give you, for your behavioural issues, we'll give you a combination of Largactyl and an M60.
Yeah, that'll sort you. Oh, goodness.
But his personality traits were not lost on his superiors. Albury threatened to shoot one of his officers and was dishonourably discharged on the 7th of December 1981. So he's 20 years old.
So nothing's even really gone very right up until that point.
Well, he's not living his best life yet.
No. But it's all just a sort of a series of
transient,
non-connections.
Donkey shootings.
Bit of disappointment after
metaphorical donkey shootings.
But also being in Tirana at 15 is really bad.
Why do I feel like the words donkey shooter are now going to be part of the Trial by Wine vernacular?
They are going to go on for a while.
You're nothing but a bloody donkey shooter.
Donkey shooter, yeah.
I've seen one, I've seen it.
What a load of old donkey shootings.
That screams donkey shooter.
Yeah, that's right.
I've never heard of it.
It's weird,
I don't think it is a thing.
So he spent time in Adelaide, Alice Springs and travelled to Queensland before arriving in Darwin in late 1983.
Goodness.
Darwin we're in now.
Yeah, we're in Darwin, so we've gone around Australia more or less.
I mean, I know you know the geography of this, yeah.
But he's very...
So she's doing the dates instead.
He's steering clear of those sort of eastern states. So he's very much working,
Was it rural areas where he can shoot donkeys?
Well, he was in Queensland.
Sorry.
On the east, but still rural.
To your point, doesn't celebrate daylight savings, Swanee.
And that's where he had to draw a line.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So in 22 years of his life, Albury developed a hatred of Aboriginal people and started to believe in the ideals of the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh,
jeepers.
He admitted that when he was younger, he and his friends would chase Aboriginal kids and beat them with sticks. He also expressed a dislike for Asians, wogs, and homosexuals. Wogs is his word, not mine. Just so that.
Yeah, and
I've heard it recently.
I'll just remind our listeners that in Australia, in Australia, the word wog is used to describe recently arrived, generally European people, generally from Greek, Italian, European background. It does not mean a person of colour as it does in the UK.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. And doesn't it come from like post-World War II immigration?
Yeah, because everyone was
predominantly Southern European, not so. It was. You're quite right.
So
Italians, Greeks,
Hungarian,
Yugoslavian, Maltese. Considered. You're Central European, aren't you?
Yeah,
Eastern. Sorry,
I'm Eastern European, and so
you're
I'm not actually technically a wog.
No, you're not a wog.
No, you're not.
But then it got to a point where when I was at high school, that everyone who was first generation whose parents came from Europe, they just we all just talked about each other as wogs, but we weren't really. I'm not really.
And I wasn't. But because I looked like one, I was called one, and they changed my surname to Carla Swansky.
I was going to say Swansky.
Yeah.
Oh,
However, this is going to really upset Donkey Shooter. In the summer, I used to go so dark that they used to say that I was Aboriginal and used to write, when they'd bully me, like things like nulla nulla and say that I sniff petrol and all those awful derogatory things about Aboriginal. So I was a summertime Aboriginal and a wintertime wog. So all bases covered.
You got it all, darling.
You were like Meghan Markle.
I'm one of those who pretend. Oh yeah. It was just what it was, wasn't it? Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
I got bullied at high school too, yeah.
Yeah, but when I say that, everyone was copying it. And, obviously some people way more than me, but, that was my lot.
Yeah, and I was fat, and I was picked on for that too, yeah. Yep. Got it, just check.
You were big bone, Schmitty. You were never fat.
I was fat, it's all right. Call it like it is.
Right, okay,
my brother used to say, there she blows, the white whale. Wasn't he nice, my brother?
Oh.
Still is.
Jeepers.
Right, moving right along from all those hateful terms.
Yeah.
Gloria Pindan we're going to talk about now. So on November the 25th, 1983, Albury went to the Vic Hotel where he drank jugs of rum.
Ooh,
Schmitty,
Dangerous.
you and he could have been drinking at the bar.
Oh, you get a bit punchy.
Was this in Queensland? Where's this?
No, Darwin.
Oh, so no rum Sally.
Rum Shirley.
Rum Shirley, sorry.
Yeah, no rum
What's that?
Shirley.
It
Rum Shirley.
comes from a very early episode. Paul tells the story of Rum Shirley.
So Rum Shirley, back in the day when I was doing my zoology degree, we did turtle research.
Yep.
And turtle research was great, but Rum Shirley lived on an island, I think it was an island off the coast of Gladstone, or she maybe lived in Gladstone. Anyway.
Magnetic Island or something?
Yeah, no, maybe she lived in Gladstone, but she could have been on one of the islands off it. Anyway, she had no teeth. And
she drank too much rum.
She used to get up in the morning and pour herself a rum and coke, and she would drink rum and coke all day.
My kind of lady.
And so ended up having 0 teeth. So,
That's the sugar from the cola.
That's right. I drink.
Yep.
Yeah.
I drink Coke Zero, so I don't have.
Yeah, you'll never be Rum Shirley.
For a whole raft of reasons.
Because Rum Shirley's teeth issue wasn't to do with the rum, but certainly Rum Shirley's personality was a lot to do with the rum.
And the cirrhosis of the liver, but yes.
Poor old Rum Shirley.
Oh, well, she was living her best life. I don't know. She wasn't
happy
evil
enough.
or nasty.
She'd been happy. Yep. Looking after
She was
the
just
turtle,
Rum Shirley.
Right. So he drank rum like Rum Shirley.
Drank jugs of rum.
Just rum or rum and Coke?
Well, I'm assuming rum and Coke, given it was jugs, because jugs of rum.
Exactly.
I mean, one jug of rum would murder most people, but
absolutely
jugs of rum. Yeah. So let's go rum and Coke. Okay, so upon leaving the pub, he headed down Mitchell Street in Darwin, where he encountered Gloria Pindan, a local Indigenous woman. Swanee, this is about your 20-second warning. So the ante...
Oh, it's going to happen quick.
We do up the ante slightly, but then I'm going to have to get you to take them off. In what is considered a random attack, Albury murdered Gloria Pindan, stabbing her 28 times with a broken bottle. He used the bottle to disfigure Miss Pindan and told police in brutal detail of how he killed her. Swanee, this is where you should remove your headphones.
Okay. I'm out.
I started to kick her and hit her, and then I got one stubby beer bottle and started to cut her. After I finished cutting her, I pulled out her eye and left her there, he said.
Why was only Swanee allowed to take off her headset?
Because this is what you do for downtime after a stressful day at work.
Take out her eye?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Schmitty, when I tell Swanee to...
I've got the sweat.
Even when I was holding the, I could hear the word eyes. I know what's happened. Oh, I've made it, and I could see Schmitty's reaction. So
You've taken a leap.
When asked how he ripped her eye out, Albury responded, "Put my finger in the socket, twisted down the end of my finger, and just give it a jerk." She was punched, kicked, slashed, bruised, beaten, mutilated for no reason at all. The pathologist found multiple injuries caused Miss Pindan's death, expressing that no single blow was the fatal one.
Okay.
It was a long assault with death coming towards the end of the beating. Albury also said the killing was a pleasure.
Imagine interviewing someone who's, based on the reactions and the bluntness with which he's been able to describe what he's done.
And then for him to say at the end of it, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Where do you go with that?
Well, this was out in the open, just in the street?
Yeah, in the street. Yeah.
That's
so he didn't even make an attempt to lure him down to the banks of the Brisbane River like the lesbian vampire.
Wiggers.
Yeah, Wiggers. Yeah, correct.
Stop it. You're just triggering Swanee even more.
You are totally triggering me about Wiggers. I was thinking about her the other day in the car. I was driving somewhere and it popped into my mind and I thought,
God.
I couldn't remember a bloody name, no. I
love the fact you were thinking about someone we've never met.
The thought just sort of came into my mind and I thought, I hope she hasn't heard it yet.
Yes.
I'm just buying myself some time.
We've only had 41 listeners to listen to that, so I wouldn't worry about it. They're all the same people who came to the wedding.
Yeah, you're right. After the killing, the drunken Albury put his bloodied shirt in a nearby bin and made his way to bed.
Oh,
He just left her body and left.
yeah.
Yeah, or took his shirt off because that was all bloody.
Okay, so no one. I thought someone might have seen it happen. They didn't. So he was just
murdered
her, tidied himself up a bit, and's gone home to bed.
Correct.
Poor woman.
Yeah.
Wrong place at the wrong time.
At this point, I was hoping, given there had been some confession, this is the end of the story because he's done the job and he's not that bothered. I thought maybe he just get caught. I
don't think so. Not if he's called Australia's Hannibal Lecter.
I hope he hasn't
to it.
I hope he hasn't ever
random murder.
I think that's enough.
Yeah. No, it's not the eyeball removal that makes him Australia's Hannibal Lecter.
Jesus. All right.
Jesus.
He's got to eat someone yet.
I thought that might have been the end of it.
No.
Hoping.
Optimist.
Yeah. So Gloria's body was found quickly, as was the bloodied cowboy shirt that he was wearing, and police began searching for the killer, looking for a ringer. For those of you who don't know, a stock worker with dirty jeans and a clean shirt or no shirt at all. That was what they had to go off. So Detective Les Chapman and Sergeant Dennis Hart walked into Smith Street Mall looking for the person that might have done it. And apparently at the time they were both hungover. So when you think about
how they feel.
Yeah, I know, right? But imagine having to do this kind of a job hungover. It would be pretty rough. Anyway, they see a bloke who looks like a ringer and they ask him where he was last night. And he said he was at the Vic Hotel. They said to him, "Did you see a cowboy with a white silk shirt on?" And he replied, "Yeah, there was one up there and he was drinking jugs of rum." So they headed to the Vic Hotel and lo and behold, there was a ringer with dirty jeans on and a clean shirt. So as it turns out, because it was Albury at the hotel again, as it turns out, he had lost his wallet. So he went to the police that morning to try to find his wallet, see if they had his wallet handed in. They didn't, so he left. And then he went to the hotel to see if he could find it there. And whilst he was there, he thought, I may as well. So he started having a drink.
And he remembered what he'd done at this point. It's not like it was a disassociative fugue or something.
Oh, no.
He knew what he'd done. Okay.
Yeah.
And he was not bothered to go into the
police station.
The cop shop to get his.
How's that?
Has anyone seen my license? I mean,
like,
my wallet.
That?
What?
Yeah.
To be fair, I was murdering someone last night and thinking,
It was a bit frenzied. I might have dropped it on the way.
Yeah, he was in front of mine while I did it.
Shit happens.
Like, how's his form?
Swatty.
Oh my God, I just can't believe this guy.
So Chapman and Hart sat him down to have a friendly chat about his whereabouts the night before. Albury told detectives he worked at the Bachelor Abattoir and had arrived in town 2 nights ago. Chapman asked if he was wearing the same clothes when he got into town, and Albury said yes. Chapman pushed. "Are you sure you didn't have a different coloured shirt on?" Albury then admitted to wearing a white silk cowboy shirt. He was taken down to the police station for questioning, where the detectives noticed he had dried blood behind his ear. Like, he's just not the sharpest tool in the shed at all. The detectives were joking about how they were kind of going, "My God, how are we going to find this bloke?" And it literally turned out to be the easiest catch they've ever.
It's insane. It's like, what's the population at this point? 3?
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, it must be that guy.
Was it you? It wasn't me. Oh, it's got to be you then.
Exactly. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there was a guy in a white silk shirt. Yeah, he was drinking rum. Yeah.
At the Vic Hotel.
What
Because
are
they
the
didn't know
chances?
like
maybe at the time,
as.
population-wise, the chances were high that people would have noticed that. Like
Possibly.
now, if I went out I wouldn't notice anything,
You'd be too drunk.
I'd be drinking jugs of
Rum.
and
Could be noticing you.
So, shortly after, Albury confessed to killing Gloria Pindan. He described the killing, and when he asked why he did it, he said, "It doesn't worry me what I kill. They're all blood and guts on the inside."
Oh, God. Right.
Oh, fair enough.
Maybe that's a donkey shooting reference, Swanee. Who knows?
Well, he's working in an abattoir too, so he's killing things all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been shooting donkeys since I was a little boy.
He's not American.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I've been shooting donkeys since I was little.
He's not British either.
No, it sounds more ethnic.
That wasn't a British accent. It was more ethnic.
That was more ethnic.
Yeah.
Really? Jeez.
Western European.
No.
No. It's more,
Southern.
Swanee knows what I was doing.
I know what you're doing.
It's going back to those South
Adelaide.
Australians on the boat.
I was thinking about you all the time when you're on the cruise, wondering who you're running into and how you're keeping yourself tidy and
I
safe.
took all the photos of the cameras. There were quite a few CCTV cameras. I can attest to that. Yeah.
Did you interview anyone on board the boat, just to anyone who's in charge? What kind of crimes do you have? And
No, I didn't. But at one point, I turned to Tony in front of a server and said, "Now don't get murdered." And the server, looked at me like I was an absolute freak.
Nice. Love
Anyway,
it.
sorry.
Chapman spent about 7 hours with Albury inside a small interview room at the cop shop, bringing him coffee and pies. He noted, "This lad has got some big feet on him," and he started swinging those feet towards me. He got the Ian Thorpe feet, and I was starting to get weary of him.
What year is this?
It's before Ian
in
Thorpe.
the 80s.
Yeah.
He must be telling the story.
He's recalling
Recalling
many years
what
later.
happened.
Right.
But yeah, correct. Sorry.
Boy.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Psychic.
So when imagine that if he knew that. Wow. When Dennis came back in, I went and made some coffees, and he later slipped me a piece of paper that said, "Don't you leave me alone with this chap again."
Oh, God. Okay.
Oh.
When he went back there to get him to read the transcripts and sign them, Albury pulled a biro on him
She's out.
and put it right next to his eye. You don't need to be out for this, though. I would have told you if you needed to be. I would
Did
have
he
told
puncture him
you.
with it?
No, it didn't hurt him. It didn't hurt him. It just threatened him with it.
I love how you took your headphones off, and then the minute you put them back on, the first thing you come back with is, did he puncture him with it?
Well, that's what I thought we headed.
Yeah, I know, but so I take it off so I don't have to hear it. Then I'll ask it just in case it did happen.
Point taken.
Yes. So he held the biro about a centimetre away. All Chapman could do to protect himself was bugger all. He was that quick, and he just said to him, "Chappie, I like you." And Chapman said, in retrospect, he only had to push it and he could have killed me, so I'm glad he liked. So Albury was jailed for life and has since been declared a dangerous man who should never be released from prison. In 2001, legislation was changed which saw an end to indefinite sentences for murder and entitled Albury to a default non-parole period of 20 years. At that point, he'd spent 18 years in prison. So he actually could have...
No.
But the then Director of Public Prosecutions, Rex Wild QC, made sure that never happened, applying to the NT Supreme Court for Albury to remain in prison for the rest of his natural life. Justice Martin granted the application on November the 12th, 2004, almost 21 years after the killing. The now retired judge was inundated with psych report after psych report, all of them indicating one thing: this man was a danger to the community.
Mm-hmm.
So Albury is now, let's say, 61 years old and had been in jail since he was 21. I'm going to tell you a little bit about his prison life because, of course, he is Australia's Hannibal Lecter, and one killing does not make.
He's been busy inside, has he?
Sous chef.
He was segregated from... Too far. He was segregated from other inmates while in Darwin's maximum security B block. In 1988, he attacked a fellow inmate, John Michael Knox, putting a garden hoe through his head.
Oh, what? This is like something out of the stories they tell you in Port Arthur. Yeah. Of, historic violence. Yeah.
Yep.
Why does a man like that have a garden hoe available to him?
And if he has it, why would you put it through John Michael Knox's head?
Well, instead of just anyone else's.
Well, have a guess why he did it. Because
Was he Indigenous?
I'm not sure.
Homosexual?
Not sure.
Jewish?
Not sure. Not sure if he was Asian or a Wog.
Asian, Southern European. Yeah.
Made delicious food. I'm not sure. No, so it wasn't nothing to do with any of that as far as I can tell. Oh, actually, I do know something about him, but that wasn't why he did it.
Just gave shits.
Any other guesses? Maybe Swanee. Any guesses?
No.
Did he
Just happened to
sing
be there?
when they were watching TV?
He wasn't raking the leaves correctly. I don't know.
I hate when people don't rake the leaves correctly.
Did you say it was a hoe? Like
it's enough to make me want to put a hoe through their head.
Not a skanky hoe, like a garden hoe.
Yeah, a garden hoe, yeah.
So was he on work duty out in the garden? Or?
I'm assuming that's how he had got in touch with the garden hoe. But Albury claimed deceased The Doors singer Jim Morrison ordered him to spill blood.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I knew that was coming.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, right.
Yeah. So when asked why he attacked the prisoner, Albury replied, because Jim told me to. He talks to me. He tells me to do things. I'm pretty happy for the moment. He's letting me sleep on the bed. Usually he makes me sleep on the floor. Like, do they share the bed? What's going on there?
Did the other gentleman die?
Hazard a guess.
Yeah, it didn't say, but I'm assuming yes.
Okay.
No, he didn't. When asked if he bashed Knox because he was a child molester, he said, sure, I didn't like him because he was a child molester, but that's not the reason for it. I had to get him for Jim. Jim's getting old. He wanted some blood to preserve his youth.
Okay.
Oh, God.
So he was found not guilty, Swanee, of attempted murder on the grounds of insanity.
Okay, so it starts to change. Can I just confirm? So 83 was when he murdered the woman in the street.
Yeah, Gloria. Yeah.
Gloria, that's it. And then how many years later was this, did you say?
In 1988, so 5 years later.
So 5 years he's gone from being just a blunt, that's what I've done, and now there's another side that he's sort of starting to introduce, which would suggest now he's gone fully nuts, kind of. Wow. I think that's the technical term for it, fully nuts.
There may be more that I need to tell you.
Apologise.
Oh, yeah, no, fully nuts. That's why he's on Largactyl.
Okay.
Remember when he was in the army?
He's been fully
But you know what I mean? But
always.
when he killed the woman, he didn't say that it was voices or whatever else. He was just like, no, I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's correct. He did it because he didn't.
Yeah.
But remember the army thought he was a bit of a nutter? Maybe his nutterism is growing. Yeah.
He's not a quotient. Yeah.
So he was then moved to Alice Springs prison. At the prison, despite being in the maximum security section, he was allowed to attend a friendly cricket game where he was handed a cricket.
Oh
no! This is the bit that
this
to
is
me
so dumb.
The Benny Hill
This is the bit that reminds me of Hannibal Lecter, right? Not for any other reason than just, I've got a bat. So he subsequently attacked another inmate with the bat, striking him in the head. The victim was sitting nearby playing chess.
Minding his own business, yeah. Oh, one might call this foreseeable.
Except that he's been moved, so maybe they don't know how bad he is, but it's just that Hannibal opportunity. Like, I've got a bat. I mean, I could play cricket or I could just whack someone.
Who's around? Oh, this guy, Bash.
He's not looking, whack.
Yeah.
The blow cracked his skull. This attack was... the blow cracked his skull. So guess why he did this one?
Looked at him funny.
No, I didn't look at him.
Cricket. I don't know, just because he was there.
Well, more or less, but it wasn't Jim Morrison. It was a message from TV's Don Beach,
who's that?
Was a corrupt cop from the Bill.
Oh my gosh!
A fictional character.
Yeah, correct. Okay. So a fictional character came to life and actually told me that I had to do this. Albury got an extra 4 months jail for spitting in the face of Alice Springs prison officer Joseph Barber. He's sent death threats written in blood and ink to territory ministers, including the then Correctional Services Minister Eric Poole and predecessors Mike Reid and Don Dale.
How is this allowed to get out, written in blood?
I don't know. He's also threatened the life of a prison guard. In another bizarre twist, Albury told an Alice Springs court a steel plate had been implanted in his head at birth and magnets in the sky would travel in square patterns, giving the plate directions. Those magnets told him to burn his prison cell. So he did.
Magnets.
Magnets.
Oh, jeepers. Okay.
And he was subsequently convicted of property damage.
I shouldn't laugh. Obviously, this is severe mental health issues.
Albury has been diagnosed with psychopathic personality disorder. One psychiatrist diagnosed him with schizophrenia, but that has been disputed by others. So you might go, that doesn't really make him Hannibal Lecter.
Who's he eating? Yeah, come on.
There's no evidence of eating Schmitty, which is disappointing because that is potentially one of the criteria that you would use. But in 2014, the Daily Mail reported that Albury has allegedly admitted to at least 11 murders and is a prime suspect for a total of 14. It was reported that he allegedly confessed to a killing spree along Queensland's desolate Flinders Highway between 1970 and 1982. At least 11 people disappeared from that stretch of road during that time period, including hitchhiker Tony Jones. Jones vanished without a trace on the night of November the 3rd, 1982, while walking along the Flinders Highway, last seen in Anthill Creek, known as Townsville's Killing Fields.
Nice.
About 26 kilometres out of town. He was the last to go missing on that stretch of road. Queensland police reopened the 32-year investigation after Albury's confession, which led detectives to the abattoir where he used to work in outback Hughenden, 1,400 kilometres northwest of Brisbane. Stuart Christensen, who now owns the abattoir, said someone could have been easily killed, chopped up and fed to the pigs without anyone noticing. You'll never find a body or DNA, he told The Times. There are old pits full of bones all over that ridge line. Some of the other victims during that time include the body of Catherine Graham, 18, found raped and slain on the highway in 2007. In October 1978, Karen Edwards, Gordon Twaddle and Timothy Thompson were found shot in the head near Mount Isa, about 250 kilometres west of Julia Creek. Hitchhikers Robin Boinville Bartram, 18, and Anita Cunningham, 19, also disappeared along the Flinders Highway several decades ago. Robin was shot twice in the head and her skeletal remains were found west of Charters Towers in July 1972. Anita was listed as missing. Police believe she was killed with her friend, so they never found her.
Jeepers.
Police also found the bodies of Mackay's sisters Judith, 7, and 5-year-old Susan along the highway. Both were found to have been sexually abused. It was reported that due to his mental state, Albury hasn't been charged with these murders. Although from what I could read, there also seemed to be insignificant evidence. And so I'm going to wrap it up with a guard's report. News.com reported that one of the prison guards who worked alongside Albury said the following about him. When he gets in one of these moods that can last for 6 months or 2 years, you can't let him near other prisoners or he's likely to grab the first thing he can and try to kill someone, the guard said.
Is that a mood?
Well, is that just life? If it goes for 2 years...
Is it a phase or is it a mood?
Or is it just life? I don't know. Albury's a big bloke, but when he doesn't get his own way, his behaviour quickly descends into that of a small toddler. Perhaps I haven't seen too many small toddlers murdering people, but his standard method of protest is to strip off nude. He'll be naked in his cell constantly, and then the next thing he'll do is throw all of his clothes down the toilet and flood his cell.
We can say throw all his toys out of his pram.
Yeah. He'll use his feces to write on the walls. He's been doing it for years and years. He doesn't have a TV because he keeps smashing them during his tantrums. The NT News has previously reported Albury asked prison officers at Darwin Correctional Centre if he could watch Thriller: The Silence of the Lambs. He even borrows one of the lines from the film in an attempt to degrade female guards. And that, my friends, is the story of Andy Albury, Australia's Hannibal Lecter.
With all these other murders that we think that he's done and the lack of evidence, why do we... Has he admitted to any of those?
He admitted to 11 of them, and there were...
But do we believe him? Because he also thinks that Jim Morrison...
He's suspected of 14. No, Jim Morrison is just a throwaway as to why he murdered someone, or not tried to murder someone.
But did someone go to him with a list and went, here's a list, and he went, yeah, I've done them all?
Sure, exactly.
Or is it the other way around where he's volunteered information and said, do you know what, you might want to go and have a look at a crime with 2 young girls. Did he do that?
It's interesting. So, it's funny, we were talking about this before. There's not a lot of information on him. For someone who has apparently done as much as he has, there's very little evidence or even conversation around it. You know, there's a couple of articles.
I've never heard of him. Yeah,
but he's suspected of 14. He's admitted to 11. So,
but I think that's where the difference in this crime. We never seem to be in this situation where horrendous crime committed. He admits it. It's solved immediately.
Yeah.
Because he's basically gone, yeah, I did it. I'm not going to give you some big backstory or whatever else. I didn't like that person. I'm, horrendously racist. I killed them.
yeah.
So there's no exploration of all the things that sit behind that, get you to that point. It's just black and white, then goes to prison.
Yeah.
So all this other stuff that we're talking about sits, adjacent to that, which may or may not have been attributed to him. So it's very difficult to get any, colour on any of these stories or connections. You know what I mean? We're just sort of left with what they know, which is, I killed them and I've done some crazy shit since.
And so bearing in mind he was born at the end of 1961 and the Flinders Highway had a lot of murders between 1970 and 1982.
And then
he's doing those murders from just over 8 to 20.
Need to get my maps out. Sorry, Flinders Highway.
Yeah, so it's...
Where does it run from?
Northern Queensland.
Queensland, right, let's have a look. Flinders Highway.
Surely he wasn't murdering people at the age of 8. What?
No. So what I'm saying is that it was young, right? So let's assume he didn't do the ones in 1970 or even anywhere near then. He's done them perhaps
so is
between...
The Flinders
Sorry, go Swanee.
Does Flinders Highway not run coastal? It runs from the coast across Queensland, does it? Is that what I'm understanding? To Mount Isa,
Geography
actually.
lazy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Lady, sorry.
No, because that would be a really isolated place, wouldn't it? If you think
but
about it.
That's where
I was
it
thinking
is.
about down on the eastern seaboard, right?
It's almost an Ivan Milat type story, like if he's
it feels like
correct.
it.
Yeah. And there were parallels.
Places and yeah.
There you go, Townsville, and then it
Ivan Milat
crosses.
is so famous, and I've never heard of this guy.
But Ivan Milat's only recently famous, right? And if you go back to how long...
But I thought that was because they hadn't discovered the remains until, I think they went... Well, I could be wrong, but I feel like they found a body in the Belanglo forest and then they found more and more and more. Whereas...
I think there were a whole lot of people who were abducted along the highway, but I think it wasn't until... Was it Peter Falconio? That somebody actually provided enough evidence that linked to them being able to find someone. So there was a lot of instances where people reported a piece or another piece, but none of it actually led to a particular person. And I think it was then that they started to go, oh, hang on a minute, we might have someone here.
But this Andy Albury didn't kill Peter Falconio.
No, I'm talking about Ivan Milat.
He didn't kill Peter Falconio either.
Did he not?
Ivan Milat.
Am I getting confused?
Ivan Milat's the Belanglo State Forest in New South Wales. He was
Correct.
a backpacker killer.
Yeah.
Far out, I got confused just then. No, Peter Falconio's murderer was some bloke who was extradited, I think, from South Australia back to Northern Territory to stand trial for it. And in the UK, they made out that his poor girlfriend or fiancée was actually done it and she hadn't. No, they're not related. Ivan Milat killed, and graphically and horrifically, and we'll cover it at some point, a whole bunch of backpackers in New South Wales. And he was actually part of the inspiration for that horrendous film that I can't unsee, Wolf Creek. Yeah.
But mustn't have been Peter Falconio, but it was, I'm sure the last one that he killed was the one the one he tried to kill got away and gave evidence that linked back to a couple of key points that others had given.
Possibly, because there was a guy who got away from Ivan Milat. Yes.
Yeah. And then they went, there was that car which was back then, and there was a number of those things.
Right. They connected it. But But back to this guy, what connects him to these murders? So this
do
you
is
even
the thing.
believe him when he says, yes, I did it? Because he says random shit. He's definitely got mental health issues.
So I guess what I'm saying is that if he did do it, he probably did it between the age of, let's say 15 and 20 or thereabouts. He's been in prison since he's 21. Right, so do I think he killed the people that I spoke about? I would find it hard to believe. But it doesn't surprise me that the killing of Gloria was not his first one.
No, I can understand. I can believe that he's killed other people. I just think that list, maybe not, because, when you say from 15, at 15 he was in Tirana, and then he was in other places, physically other places that we know about, which were nowhere near where these people.
But it doesn't take that long to kill 11 people, particularly back in remote Australia.
Oh yeah, no, I suppose.
I could absolutely see a point where he did that, and I think.
I believe he killed other people, yeah.
Yeah. So, the thing about the cricket bat, where I just go, God, even in prison, he gets a cricket bat to play cricket and just goes and cracks someone on the head. And there were, I was saying this to Swanee before when you were off, there's a headline that says, I was waiting for the right weapon. He literally, it's almost like he lives his life waiting for the next kill kind of thing. And that's what you see in prison. There's a whole lot of time where there's very, very little known about him. He's suspected of 14 murders and he's admitted to 11. But I just don't think there's any evidence. And I don't think the police can go to court and say he said he did these 11, therefore he's guilty. Because I think to your point, Schmitty, he says a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
So he's almost in a position where no one can get him for it. But do I think he may have done that? Absolutely. I think he's full of hate, the way he talks about people, the way, God, he's put a biro to the eye of a bloke.
He's deeply unwell, yeah.
When he's being interviewed, that's how confident he is to kind of go, I could kill you.
That reminded me of the story of Ed Kemper when he was in with the FBI agent.
Yep.
And the guards didn't show up, and that FBI agent was bricking it, knowing that he could have killed him so easily. Yeah,
exactly. That could have just broken him with his hands.
Yeah, because he was a massive guy. Yeah,
he was. Yeah,
big Ed.
So I wouldn't. There's nothing to prove that he did do them, but you could certainly understand
if not them, 11 others
numerous times before. He's a donkey shooter, right? We discussed this right at the start. He shoots donkeys, whatever that metaphor is, Swanee.
Yeah.
I think he's Australia's Hannibal Lecter is a bit over the top, though, isn't it?
Well, he hasn't eaten anyone. I guess the bit that I most thought reminded me of Hannibal.
He hit someone with a cricket bat. Yeah, I'm sure that he
doesn't even like Chianti.
Hannibal, I know, right? Where the father beans?
Does not a Hannibal Lecter maketh? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. How many donkeys does one have to shoot to become Australia's Hannibal Lecter?
Yes.
Well, at least there was a little bit of cannibalism with Catherine Knight,
but
she
there
was
was
close to the title. I'm sure we have.
This guy's no real
come
contender.
On, where's
let's be
our
honest.
national pride? Come on, we've got to have.
He's not going to cut it for me.
Better cannibal somewhere in Australia.
I know. I think that's
more Hannibal Lecter type person.
I'm glad we've got there naturally, because one of the things I was going to say is, where do you sit on him being Australia's Hannibal Lecter?
I
don't think
it's not even a contender.
I don't think quoting, asking to see the movie and then quoting a line makes that, because I've asked to watch the movie and I've quoted lines from the movie
more often than I like to.
You haven't killed nobody. But as soon as you move to the prison, I'm thinking, here we go. This is where he's going to be a sous chef.
He's going to eat someone.
There was literally no eating, so yeah.
No, I think that's just a media nonsense. See, Bernadette.
I know, right?
Media nonsense.
As soon as you said it, I thought of your mum. It's a media nonsense.
He's proof, Dar. What else do you think?
I was just having a little look at this Flinders Highway, which now I'm obsessed with, because at one point you said something about the killing fields. Was that outside Townsville?
Outside Townsville, yeah.
Correct. So the Flinders Highway runs from Townsville to Mount Isa, and it's 775 k's, and it just sort of goes across not the top bit of Queensland, but the bit before the point cross.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's horrendous how many people have been killed there. But I don't know that the time really works in conjunction with him, if I'm honest.
Yep.
So I think you could sort of park that. I think that feels like that's also a bit of a stretch. I don't know that he was able to do all of that. And remember, he'd also been in WA and Victoria. He he was a travelling man. But that's not to say that he hasn't done lots of other things elsewhere, but I don't have any evidence of that, so I can't really speak to that. He was just simply donkey shooting at the time.
Is that like spitballing or?
The donkey shooting. So I don't know what crime that is, but, if you're a donkey
shooter,
shooter,
I think you think that's a pretty big crime. Yeah.
My biggest issue is, if I sort of park who he is and what his own persona is and what, his belief system is, which is clearly beyond troubled, it's when he's been then taken into custody and how they have kind of not really been able to ring fence him sufficiently, or they go, oh, well, we've moved you to the prison, but it's a friendly game of cricket. Come on down. It doesn't quite add up to me if he's so feared and
as we said before, it was eminently foreseeable that if you gave him a cricket bat, he'd try to kill someone with it.
So I have to say,
give him a garden hoe, he'll try and kill someone.
To protect the guards and the other inmates, I mean, the system is not doing that. The system has allowed him to be exposed to other people and, clearly potential weapons and things. It's concerning.
Back then, I just think that the way that he was treated in prison is probably normal for the time. And I don't think they would have been going, God, he behaved badly there, therefore we need to ring fence him or do something different. They'd probably just go,
I suspect you're right.
We'll move him elsewhere.
I think you sort of alluded to this before, which is sort of, it was such a different time. And I'm speaking for myself, I think we're in a similar situation, but growing up in suburban Australia in the 80s would have been a far cry from pretty much anything, as you say, that happened outside of a city.
Yeah.
You could only imagine the stuff that went on, and certainly somewhere as remote as Western Australia, Northern Territory, Alice Springs, remote Queensland. It would have been just, if you were being opportunistic or whatever else, imagine the stuff that went on that they'll never solve, that they'll never know. How many people were taken off the street? When everyone was hitchhiking.
Yeah.
There were no satellites. There was no one tracking it, every move, every phone call, every this, whatever. It was you just were out there, and you were out there in the outback, the bush.
It really is that.
It was, and
Easy
that wasn't necessarily in the centre of Australia. That was outside hubs of not necessarily cities, but towns and whatever else. Once you got out there, you're out there.
Yeah.
When you're travelling around, you're lucky. We used to travel a fair bit when I was very young, just mainly through New South Wales and Queensland, lots of car trips.
Yeah.
And, get to a point where you'd be driving for hours, you wouldn't see a soul, and you'd be lucky if there were street, lights and whatever else.
Even now, right?
Really?
Even now. When we had the English people over and I took them up to Ilden, they couldn't believe how long you would be driving before you saw a property to another, like that.
Yes.
And I'm not, I'm not in the Pilbara, I'm not somewhere really remote.
Yeah.
Melbourne to Ilden is not, in my mind, particularly remote. If you broke down, walk a couple of hours and you'll find someone. That's not that remote. But to them, they were like, jeepers, there's so much land here. There's so much open, not unused, but, uninhabited land. So, and times that by a bazillion, because we're talking about a period of time where the population was a lot lower as well.
Correct.
These are still remote areas.
Yeah.
So,
to drive
it was a psycho's picking ground, basically. It was
when you think
exactly
about it.
that. We used to drive from Melbourne to Maryborough a lot, like because I had grandparents in Maryborough in Queensland. Yeah.
Cheapers.
It's up near.
Where would that be near? I've heard I can't place it. How far north?
What's the place? It's past Brisbane. Anyway, it used to take us about 2 days to drive there, and we would get up at 4:00 in the morning and get in the car and drive.
We were allowed to have a blanket.
Terrible.
Yeah. And anyway, but the reason I say
that,
no dogs in the car. Yeah, no, because there were 3 kids in the back and 2 parents in the front.
Fraser Island,
Harvey Bay is where it's
Harvey Bay, right.
We used to sit there and play a game whereby we used to watch the cars that came past and mark down the make. So whether it was a Ford or a Holden. No, because and so there were that few cars that you could actually sit there and
we
go.
We did it with colours.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Like tally marks.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But you'd go, Ford, Holden, Volkswagen, whatever. And because there were so few cars, you could actually, because you wouldn't get 10 in a row and go, I forgot what it was. It was like one now, oh, here's another one. Oh, my goodness, this might be 2. And when I say 2, it's like 2 within line of sight, not to one tailgating the other. And so, yeah, in terms of trying to get away with murder, if you found a car, it's not going to be another one coming for a long time. And that was on major highways.
Maybe killing 11 people in a short period of time is actually harder than it sounds.
Well, no. So I think on that road, it's easy, right? Because all you got to do is find people.
Yeah.
I mean, God, he walked down one of the main streets in Darwin and murdered someone.
True. All right. Well, what do we think about sentencing then?
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, so one of the things I think is that we should introduce a place into Trial by Wine World that is like the MCG, so a big stadium. And
geez, how much
I think
land?
the Colosseum.
Speaking of all this land in Australia, we've got to buy a huge amount of land for Trial by Wine World.
well, we've got a bit here, so it could start off small, and then we can just maybe, if it starts to work, we can expand.
Do we want them here?
But I feel like the reason for it is that we could have Cricket Bat World.
Island.
And so Andy Albury could become a punishment for other people where he just, you go to
Whack
watch the cricket and Andy Albury comes up and just whacks you on the head. Yeah.
And you're gone.
Good God.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, you're not gone because he didn't murder them.
Oh, okay.
He
just
just
got a
cracked.
really sore head.
But you said it's
got
okay.
severe brain
Chronic
damage.
headache for
He
a
cracked
while.
their skull.
So it is
Don't
a
get me
punishment,
wrong.
though.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so you could always sentence
God.
people to watching the cricket with Andy Albury.
Oh.
But for Andy Albury, Swanee, sorry to do this to you, I would like him because
I know what you're gonna say. Oh.
yeah, I know, but
Only because you said sorry to
because
do
he's
this
been
to
in
you.
prison the whole time, then there's not much more that you could wish upon him now. I just wish that he did those 40 years without eyeballs, and so.
Thought we were headed there.
Yeah. I just think, if we could
It'd be
take
hard
them.
to hit someone over the head if you can't see them.
Well, it'd be a little bit more like, a kid's party where you have a piñata.
Pinata, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Goodness.
That's me done. Go on then.
So if we go right back to the start of the story, or not start, somewhere in the time when the police picked him up and they bought him pies and what was the other thing?
Yeah, what was that?
Coffee and pies. Yeah. I'd go pie and beer or coffee and donuts, but not.
Surely
right?
they should have done a pie and a chopped milk. I was thinking they got that wrong. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Big special combo.
Big M.
And a dare. Oh, Big M. That's
We like
that's not- isn't it?
footballs, meat
Oh,
pies,
it's dairy.
kangaroos and Holden cars. Football, meat pies, kangaroos and Holden cars.
We're a simple folk.
No idea what that is. Okay.
Really? You've never heard that?
No.
You must know what that is.
Anywho, pies and coffee. So, okay, so it's not really a sentence, I suppose. I wanted the police to feed him rat sack when they gave him pies and coffee. I thought surely you should give this person rat sack or something equivalent. So there was just to get rid of him. But then I thought, well, that's not good because he's already killed this woman in a really horrific fashion.
Yes.
And, of course, then there's all these other victims that he's possibly killed as well. So I'm going to kind of – I don't know if we've done this before, but I'm just going to unmake him. He just should never have existed.
Unmake
him.
I'm just going to wipe him from the face of the earth. He never existed. He never had the opportunity to kill anyone. We would never know who he was.
Is that like taking the blue pill in the Matrix?
Just I don't know. I just wiping him out.
So, Schmitty,
he adds no value to anything. He's just a horrible abomination and should just be removed from everything. And he's unmade. Yeah.
So, Schmitty, if you're God and you're making a batch of humans and then you leave them in the oven too long like muffins and you go, oh, God, these are rubbish now.
Oh, I'm hungry now.
I'm going to... for humans or for muffins?
For a muffin.
Okay, that's all right. But so you go, oh, God, these are rubbish. So do you then, you can't really unmake them, so you tip them in the bin or you might give them the dog or you chuck them out for the birds. Are you saying you would put him in the bin, give him to the dog, give him to the birds? Or is there some going back in time thing where he now doesn't exist?
It's a going back in time thing where when his parents were having sex, just before his father reaches the climax,
Sada Abe comes in and chops it off.
Someone knocked on the door and completely interrupted that whole moment so that he was never created. That's where I'm going with it. Yeah.
Okay, right. Far less imaginative than giving him to the dog or give him to the pigs in a Hannibal kind of way.
I could have had a whole theological discussion with you, and I thought, no, I'm going to circumvent all that. That's right. And I'm just going to unmake him.
Give him the pigs.
Well, that's the other option as well. Like before he goes to Tirana and before he's killed anyone, have him be the victim of some horrific murderer. And we'll tell that story at another time. Swanee.
All right.
Swanee?
Okay. I've struggled a bit with this one in terms of I'm trying to view it through the lens of, that time. And so I'll take on board the fact that the prison system and, how he was not, because that did disappoint me. But I think it's only fair that, really it probably reflected the times and where what's the word I'm after? What's it called? The prison system? There's a word that I'm missing today that I can't get. It's there. I think you tried to grab it at one point.
Oh, I said the custody system or something because I was really struggling.
The penal
Correctional?
System. Correctional, that's it. I've been trying to get it the whole day and I can't. Right. I think I'm trying to project onto the, 1980s correctional system, which is unrealistic. So instead I'm going to opt to go for something else. And the scenario that I can see playing out in my mind is on that evening when he's left the pub full of rum and he's heading down the street in Darwin. At the moment that he happens upon Gloria, instead of allowing him to be able to murder her so viciously, I was thinking that I would have liked something sort of Dreamtime to come into play where, she was, something quite mystical happened. And then I couldn't quite finish that off.
The giant goanna.
No, I was thinking of something beautiful that, the lights in the sky would change everything and then he would be like totally blown away by the dream time.
And realise how beautiful it is and not be a nasty, racist, horrible
Exactly.
Right.
But then I didn't know that would be enough. So instead, at that exact moment, there was a donkey sniper that was take him out.
Donkey sniper.
So our donkey shooter, whatever his name, got taken down. First of all, he's in
by a donkey.
By the donkey sniper.
A donkey is the sniper. Yeah, and I was
thinking, donkey is the sniper.
Brilliant.
I love that.
So I thought while he's in this he's stopped because something magical dream time is like protecting her. There's this sort of aura around her or shield or whatever, and he's stunned. And at that very moment, the donkey that's on the roof
on the grassy knoll.
The grassy knoll.
And then there's the donkey just
yeah.
And then, he doesn't get to harm Gloria or any other donkeys or anybody else. He's
I
just
love it.
Clean takeout.
Beautiful.
Yeah, nice. Well played.
The donkey sniper.
Now, for our listeners, about,
6 weeks ago.
At about episode 15, I bought a series of tiny little weird little gavels. And only because we finally came together at the wedding, I was able to give them to my other Trouble Waiters. So let us say, sentence passed.
Oh.
Go on, Carla, give it a smack.
I did it.
That's it. Yeah,
nice
there we go.
Oh, the head just flew off the gavel.
Oh. Order in the court.
Why is yours so much bigger, Schmitty? You've got the big bad boy. You've got the barrel.
This gavel was Dad's. I don't know why. And then I've got the little one. Well, could you please repair your gavels?
What,
That's
Justice Schmidt?
So embarrassing that your gavel's heads have both fallen
QC,
off.
like Justice Schmidt.
We'll glue it.
It's back again. It's all right. Look at that.
Oh, perfect. Put some glue on it.
Could have had me eye out.
Oh, I really like the Dreamtime / Donkey Sniper. That was a cracker.
It was a little bit out there for me.
I really like it.
Well done,
though. Really yeah, perfect.
A nice woven tail. There we go.
It's really good. Perfect. All right. Well, that was awful and fun.
That was something.
Awful and fun.
It was a good return.
It's a fine line between pleasure and pain.
Isn't it just? Yes. All right, well, as we say, miss you already.
Ciao, darling.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.